Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. A very warm welcome from London in the UK. Here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. I go through every EV article online, so you don't have to. My name is Martin Lee, and this is your EV News Daily for Saturday, the 7th of April, 2018. First of all, an apologies. Somehow, I've caught a cold at the beginning of summer, which is frustrating to be well all the way through an English winter when it's freezing. And we have our first few days of sunshine, and I catch a cold, and I'm all bunged up. So please accept my apologies. We will struggle through. First of all, we'll talk about the Nissan LEAF once again and more huge success stories about the brand new second generation Nissan LEAF. Last month in Japan, it was a fantastic time for Nissan LEAF sales. And by fantastic, what I mean is up by 91%. Over 10,000 of the new Nissan LEAFs have been sold in quarter one in Japan alone. That's a total of over 18,000 since they first went on sale. And since they first really went on sale in January 2011, 100,000 LEAFs have now been sold over the three variations. Well, the two generations, Gen 1, Gen 2, but the three different battery sizes. Well, add on top over 2,000 in Norway last month, about 1,500 in the US, doing really well here in the UK as well. They are heading towards, if not already just about getting to, 10,000 per month of the brand new model Nissan LEAF. Of course, made in three locations around the world, one of those here in the UK. And congratulations to Nissan for getting all of those production issues sorted so that you could really hit the ground running and start selling some decent numbers of the new Nissan LEAF. Well, moving on to Honda, and there's a new full battery electric version of the new Honda Clarity coming soon. And whilst they're not giving up on fuel cells completely, they are still having a bit of a love affair with hydrogen. They are moving forward with EVs as well. Two stories coming via Clean Technica today. Well, firstly, they point out that Waymo, those of the recent deal with Jaguar and the I-Pace, may be working with Honda on an entirely new kind of delivery vehicle that drives itself. It bases its information on a recent profile of the Waymo CEO John Krafcik by Bloomberg. In his interview with Bloomberg, John said that not to expect the new service to take the form of, I quote, traditional car driven on roads. End quote. Well, Engadge believes that the comment means Waymo is ready to create a vehicle from scratch with an automaker like Honda rather than modifying existing vehicles. And if you remember, Waymo, Google, Apple were all said to be making their own electric cars. Not so much Uber, but certainly when Apple and Google first got into autonomous driving and AI and things like that, they were meant to be making their own car, which, as Elon Musk has found out over the last 9 years, is intensely hard. So it makes sense that Waymo would now connect with other car makers, one of those being Honda. While the CEO hinted that the new self-driving vehicle from Honda might be smaller than a truck but larger than a car and would come without a steering wheel completely. Well, secondly on this story, how do you charge a vehicle which doesn't have a driver? Apart from when it comes to, well, return to base, if you like, or back to the depot at the end of the day. What about when it needs a midday top-up? Well, the same article continues that WiTricity and Honda are going to make a joint presentation about wireless charging technology. They're going to do that to the Society of Automotive Engineers World Conference Experience in about 4 days' time, on April the 11th. Now, Kosuke Tachikawa, he's the head of Honda's R&D in the Americas, and he's going to discuss how EVs, and particularly those powered by wireless charging, will connect to the grid and enable bi-directional energy flow that will stabilize the grid and create a truly seamless, renewable energy source. That is a fascinating thought, that we were all talking about vehicle to grid being plugging it into your house or your business, and maybe that was where the CHAdeMO connection had an advantage because it was bi-directional. Well, all of a sudden, WiTricity saying, oh yeah, we can do that wirelessly as well. That's fascinating. Well, moving on, and let's talk about McLaren, because of course companies like McLaren and Ferrari, you could say, have been made to look a little bit silly by the small Croatian company Rimac, because Ferrari and McLaren saying you just can't make a supercar with batteries in, and Rimac going, hold my beer. However, Jens Ludman, he's the Chief Operating Officer at McLaren Automotive, has been talking to Wheels about the ideal specs for a supercar EV. We are investigating, and I quote, "We are investigating the pure electric technology for our products," said Ludman, speaking to Wheels at the Geneva Motor Show. "We very closely look at what the technology can deliver. However, we think for a pure electric vehicle, the technology is not yet mature enough, and that has to do with the battery performance. Energy density is the issue. According to Ludman, current battery tech is more than sufficient for everyday driving on the roads, but it can't manage extreme charge and discharge requirements of a racetrack, whilst also remaining light enough to preserve chassis agility." I quote, "To talk in numbers, the battery technology should achieve 500 watt-hours per kilogram. That is a level where it really makes sense. Today we're around 180 watt-hours per kilogram, so there's significant improvement required to get where we want it to be." End quote. And it's worth pointing out that the Batman-style Formula E car, which is coming for the next season, the technology partner moves from Williams, the Formula One name Williams, to McLaren. And although the energy density of the McLaren batteries inside those Formula E cars is higher than 180 watt-hours per kilogram, it doesn't get to the magical 500, largely because they are designed, those batteries designed purely for the Formula E racers. Well, impress.com.au say that Australia's first chauffeur-driven Tesla service, Evoque, has surpassed more than 1 million kilometres of zero-emission motoring by transporting passengers in its EVs. In reaching the milestone, the Sydney-based company, founded by Pia Peterson in 2015, has offset more than 325,000 kilograms of carbon emissions and avoided burning 130,000 litres of petrol, as well as keeping the air cleaner. Evoque's achievement enables many of its corporate customers to claim emission reductions delivered by sustainable transport service as Scope 3 carbon offsets. And finally, Energy Matters have been talking about using batteries alongside renewables because the Danish company Vestas hopes to solve the problem of creating reliable energy from the intermittent sun and wind sources by using commercial energy storage in brand new ways. Well, the company's invested 10 million euros, that's about $16 million US, to help its partner Northvolt build Europe's biggest battery cell plant backed by major car investors. Northvolt, of course, if you remember, is headed by the former Tesla exec Peter Carlson. Well, the company's plan to develop industry energy storage based on the latest car battery tech as well. Vestas is going to use the Tesla batteries in a utility-scale project that's going to harness wind and solar energy for fully dispatchable power. I love to spread the word about electric cars. If you can, share the podcast with somebody who might be interested. You can listen to every previous episode of the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, TuneIn. The blog is EV News Daily, and I should mention Stitcher because we went live on there this week as well. If you want to, you can subscribe. That means you get every single episode first and free and automatically. And it would mean a lot if you get a chance to rate and review on whichever platform you listen to the podcast. The Alexa skill is downloadable via your Amazon app by searching EV News Daily. And on Twitter, come and say hi. EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. Send some cold medicine, and I'll catch you tomorrow.